Part 50. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 491. Now that the whereabouts of the four innate treasures have been determined, all he has to do is find a way to get the void mirror fragments, and then find someone from the Wushuan alliance to grab the destiny spear and the karma sword. What follows is simple and straightforward. At this time, Ningfi Eo took Zhongling back to the martial temple. Looking at the corpses here, Zhongling felt a lump in her heart and spit out a mouthful of blood. Her brothers, master, and elders were all dead. She was the only one left, and a crazy martial arts hall master. Suren also found out later that the crazy man was the master of the martial arts temple. Zhongling dragged his injured body and dug a big hole in front of the martial arts temple, then put the corpses of his brothers in and arranged them one by one. After the burial, Zhongling walked to the crazy master of the martial arts temple, sat down, hugged his knees with his hands, and buried his head deeply. Maybe her tears had dried up and she didn't cry anymore. Suren patted Ningfi Eo on the shoulder. "If you don't go and comfort me now, when will you wait?" Ningfi Eo was a little confused. "Brother Su, I'm not good at comforting people either. Besides, I can't be with her. Our fate is destined to be fruitless." After talking about it, Ningfi Eo's expression became much gloomier. "It's because you are the sky-mending stone, right?" Upon hearing this, Ningfi Eo's pupils dilated instantly and he looked at Suren in shock. "Because you are the sky-mending stone, you feel that you were born to patch the sky. You have your mission. You don't dare to pursue the love in your heart like others, so you sink into the world of mortals all day long and want to be paralyzed. Own. But just now you heard that the martial temple was in danger, and you rushed here immediately, which shows that you care about her. What are you afraid of facing? Just because of that bullshit sense of mission in your heart? Do you really think the world will collapse without you? Mortals only live a few decades, and they all dare to love and hate. What are you afraid of? Fuck the mission, your name is Ningfi Eo, your name is not Shining. I want you to live your own life, not for other people." After Suren finished speaking, he patted his shoulder. "I don't have many friends, and you are one of them. Brother Su, it turns out that you already knew." Suren nodded. Originally, Suren initially wanted to use Ningfi Eo's identity as the Holy Son of the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace to help him obtain the Void Mirror fragments. However, Suren has changed his mind now. The words he said to Ningfi Eo were actually said to himself. "Whether the world is destroyed or not, can I stop it by myself?" He does not accept the path that others have set for him in advance. Ningfi Eo seemed to have finally figured everything out. "Brother Su, it's great to have you as a friend." Ningfi Eo walked to Zhongling and sat down. It could be seen that he was not very good at comforting others, but he still tried his best to stay close to Zhongling. When Zhongling heard the movement around her, she raised her head and leaned against Ningfi Eo. "Fi Eo, I have no home." She has lived in the martial temple since she was a child and was raised by her master. The martial arts temple has long been her home, and many of her fellow apprentices have long been her relatives. Today, there is nothing. I know. Ningfi Eo hugged her and comforted her softly. "Although you have lost your home, I will always be by your side if you have me in the future. I will not run away this time." Seeing the two of them cuddling together, Suren got up and flew to the top of the nearby mountain, quietly looking at the clouds rolling in the sky. "Suren." Ling Qingxiu said softly. "What's wrong?" 2 days later, the small world of Wuqingju Palace will open 800 kilometers away from here. Can you promise me something? You say. When you get in, don't kill anyone, okay? Suren was stunned when he heard this, and then nodded. "Don't worry, I won't kill anyone. Let's negotiate peacefully." In the small world, As long as Suren didn't deliberately block it, they could see what was happening in the outside world. Maybe after seeing Zhongling's appearance, Ling Qingxiu was worried that Suren would do something bad. For her now, Wuqingju Palace is her home. The Wushuan Alliance is located in the meeting hall. Leader, Protector Zhou's life lamp has gone out. A subordinate responsible for guarding the life lamp reported. After hearing this, everyone in the hall was puzzled and said, "The God of War is back so soon. The God of War only sent someone to notify us when we were leaving. He couldn't have gone so quickly. Then what's going on? With Protector Zhou's strength, there are no more than 10 people in Tianyu who can kill him." Everyone thought for a long time and didn't know what was going on. "Okay, if you die, you will die. It won't affect my plan." The Lord of Wandao Immortal Palace opened his eyes and looked at the majestic man in front of him. "What are you so worried about? All kinds of fairy sounds linger endlessly. When did this happen?" "Mountain Master, something bad is happening." The owner of Wuliang Mountain changed his expression several times after hearing this, then waved his hand and disappeared from the spot. Everyone nodded. Suddenly, the fairy sound stopped, and the surroundings became quiet again. The Temple of Martial Arts is gone. There is no need to urgently ask to see the 3 elders. Moreover, the innate treasure Destiny Spear was also snatched away by the Wushuan Alliance. On the top of Tiandao Peak, 2 men and 1 woman were sitting cross-legged in the air. "As long as I kill him, it will be a one-person feud between me and Tiandaozai. This place is where the master of Wandao Immortal Palace lives." A boy in grey clothes hurriedly ran into the hall and shouted loudly. 10,000 Immortals Palace, Wuliang Mountain. Around the 3 people, thousands of roads were singing in harmony, and the sky was filled with glow. Upon hearing this, the owner of Wuliang Mountain, who was originally calm, suddenly stood up and came to the child. "What?" The leader of the Wushuan Alliance raised his hand slightly, and everyone immediately fell silent. "I don't know why, but I feel a little uneasy." "God of War, you are confused. What's the matter?" The Lord of Wuliang Mountain opened his eyes and looked at the little boy in grey. "Don't worry about her. Since she didn't take action last time, it will be the same this time. Luo Yuxian is dedicated to cultivating her ruthless way. She will not interfere in the disputes in the heaven." There was a roar, and the figure of the God of War had disappeared from the spot. "With 2 great innate treasures, I don't believe I can't kill him. 3 days later, the news will be released to attract the martial god here. I will kill him with my own hands." In the center of Wandao Immortal Palace, there is a towering mountain peak called Tiandao Peak. "Mountain Master, the martial arts temple was destroyed by the Wushuan Alliance. Alliance leader, how should the Lord of the Ruthless Jew Palace deal with this?" At this moment, the owner of Wuliang Mountain appeared at the foot of the mountain. The boy in grey replied breathlessly. Just now, I rushed over as soon as I received the news. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife." Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 492. Seeing the God of War leaving alone, Mo Deo couldn't help but worry. 2 elders, would it be inappropriate to let the martial god leave alone? If the Wushuan Alliance takes the opportunity to besiege the martial god, I'm afraid. Tiandaozai shook his head slightly. Cause and effect are entangled, and fate is endless. This is the fate that belongs to the 2 of them. Don't worry about him, go down first. Don't be silent and bow down. He knew that there would be a battle between the God of War and the leader of the Wushuan Alliance. But now it is clear that the God of War and the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace are in an alliance, but the Palace Master has no intention of helping. What's more, judging from the current situation, the leader of the Wushuan Alliance has already obtained the Destiny Gun, coupled with the Karma Sword in the hands of the Wushuan Alliance, and with the blessing of the 2 innate treasures, the god of war is no match for the other party. He couldn't understand why the palace master didn't take action. After descending from Tiandao Peak, Mo Dao returned to Wuliang Mountain and called the boy in gray. Go and find Kong Tian. I have something to tell him. Mountain Master, you didn't say you didn't want to see Kong Tian, why are you looking for him again? If you are told to go, just go, and don't ask any questions. Oh. The child stuck out his tongue and went to find Emperor Kong Tian. Since Emperor Kong Tian came to Wandao Immortal Palace, the palace owner has not seen him, so he has not obtained a physical body. He is still in a state of neither human nor ghost. Without a physical body, he had nowhere to go, so he could only recuperate and wait in his own courtyard. Emperor Kong Tian, the mountain master invites you. The boy in grey jumped to the small courtyard where Kong Tian lived at the foot of the mountain and shouted loudly. The bored Sky Emperor couldn't help but be ecstatic when he heard this cry. What does the mountain master want from me? Do I have a physical body? The boy in grey shook his head. I don't know. Ask the mountain master yourself. By the way, you should know the way and don't need me to lead you, right? I went to other mountains to play with others. You can go up the mountain yourself. After the boy in grey clothes finished speaking, he turned around and disappeared. Emperor Kongtian's eyes narrowed when he saw this. He originally thought that the boy in grey was just an ordinary boy, but now it seems that he is not simple. Emperor Kongtian shook his head, left the courtyard and walked up the mountain alone. In the Wuliang Palace. Mountain Master, what do you want from me? The Sky Emperor bowed and looked at the person in front of him. Mo Dao waved his hand, and a well-preserved body appeared in front of Emperor Kongtian. This person was in the middle stage of the upper ninth realm before his death. He was born with an indestructible body that matches your technique. After you fuse with him, your realm should be able to reach the middle stage of the upper ninth realm. Emperor Sky was ecstatic when he saw this. Thank you, Mountain Master. If you have anything to do with the Mountain Master, just ask. It's not a big deal. I need you to go to the Eastern Wasteland Martial Temple. Mo Dao waved his hand again, and the soul of Emperor Kongtian penetrated into the body and quickly merged together. Emperor Kongtian stood up, got used to this new body, and found that everything was suitable. The most important thing is that he has reached the middle stage of the upper ninth realm. Mo Dao waved his hand again, and half a small mirror appeared in front of Emperor Kongtian. Remember, you must not be discovered by hiding in the dark. Use this mirror to record everything you see about the Wushuan Alliance and the martial god. If there is danger, you can use it to escape. Emperor Kongtian took the half-mirror suspended in front of him and felt the aura emanating from the half-mirror. He couldn't help but exclaimed. This is, the innate treasure void mirror. Okay, let's go. Yes, Mountain Master, I will definitely complete the mission. Wait for the Sky Emperor to leave. Mo Dao has many laws flowing around his body, but upon closer inspection, there are several laws that are not connected together. It's still close. If I can see the battle between the god of war and Xiangyang Tian, it should be able to help me perfect the infinite law and ascend to the realm of gods. It is not impossible. It's a pity that I have now merged with Wuliang Mountain and cannot leave too far away for the time being. Otherwise, if I go to watch the battle in person, I will definitely be able to better perfect my laws. Eastern Wasteland, in front of the martial god temple. With Ning Fiu's comfort, Zhongling looked better. I'll go talk to Brother Su. You wait here for a while. Zhongling nodded when he heard this. Ning Fiu flew to the mountain peak and landed next to Suren, imitating Suren and sitting down on the edge of the cliff. Is she okay? Suren looked at Ning Fiu and asked with a smile. Much better, thank you Brother Su. Actually, I have no intention of hiding Brother Su. It's just that as soon as my identity is revealed in Tianyu, it will always bring endless flattery. What others see is not me, but the 10,000 Dao immortal palace behind me. I don't like this feeling, so I hide my identity and walk around the world. Ningfei said as he wiped his face, and a different face appeared on his face. This is what I really look like. Suren glanced at him. Don't tell me, your face does not look suitable. Otherwise, you should change it back. When Ningfei heard this, he smiled and said, let me just say that I don't like who I am. Ningfei changed his face again. Brother Su, there is something I want to tell you. You may miss the mark this time. Luo Yuxian is not in Wuqingju Palace. I just heard from Zhongling that the god of war and Luo Yuxian went to Wandao Immortal Palace to discuss Taoism with my master a month ago, and they haven't come back yet. I went out a few months ago, so I didn't know about it. When Suren heard this, he couldn't help but look into the small world. Did Ling Qingxiu know this but didn't tell him? Ling Qingxiu seemed to feel something, and since she could see and hear what was happening outside in her small world, she hurriedly explained. Suren, we went to the heaven realm to practice a few months ago, so we are not lying to you, and we don't know. Yes, Suren did not doubt her words. Brother Su, what should we do next? Ningfei asked when Suren didn't speak. Suren came back to his senses and replied. It's okay. If you run away, the monk can't escape from the temple. I'll go live in her temple first. She will have to go back, right? There seems to be nothing wrong with what you said. However, the King Guiuju Palace is full of women. Isn't it appropriate for two grown men like us to live there? Suren smiled and said. What's inappropriate? Isn't it just following your wishes? Ningfei looked at Zhongling at the foot of the mountain cautiously, then coughed softly and said. Ahem, Brother Su, please don't mention this matter again. If Zhongling hears it, she will definitely be angry. Suren looked at him and sighed. Tisk, tisk, it's different when you have responsibility. Your behavior has changed. Brother Su, please stop making fun of me. It's you who dares to trouble Luo Yuxian for her beauty. If this spreads out, it will definitely become a legend in the world. Suren shook his head when he heard this. Good stories are not important, I just want to get their memories back and themselves. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 493. The next day, the news of the destruction of the Martial Temple had spread throughout the heavens. The Wushuan Alliance is making a comeback, and troubled times are coming. The world was already not peaceful, but now I'm afraid there will only be a few good days. Even the Martial God Temple has been destroyed. Those forces that helped the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace are now scared to death, right? And that's exactly what happened. Many sects and holy lands who had submitted to the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace were already panicking, and some people ran directly to Zhongzhou to seek the protection of the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace. The others who were close together were united and prepared. However, the Wushuan Alliance seemed to have no intention of taking action again. After destroying the martial arts temple, there was no more movement. The Temple of Martial Arts is where Suren and the others are waiting for the small world of Wuqingju Palace to open. In the morning, a figure fell from the sky. When Zhongling saw this person, he immediately stepped forward and bowed. Lord Martial God, you are finally back. The god of war looked at the high bulge of earth in front of the temple, and a fierce murderous intention flashed in his eyes. He naturally understood what was inside. Then the god of martial arts walked to the already stupid master of the martial arts temple and stood quietly for a while. Call out. A sharp arrow flew from the sky and headed straight for the god of war. The god of war turned around and stretched out his hand to grab it, then pulled off the note on it and took a look. Xiang Ying Tian. Since you want to fight, I will fight with you. The god of war snorted coldly, and then he rose into the sky and flew towards the east. A note floated to the ground. With quick eyes and quick hands, Ning Feiyu grabbed the note and read the words on it. 3 days later, the coast of the East China Sea. Is this the place where the leader of the Wushuan alliance declares war? Brother Su, what should we do? Ning Feiyu looked at Su Ren and asked. Let's go and have a look. Su Ren decided not to go to Wukingjuk Palace, but to watch the battle. This kind of opportunity is definitely rare. Maybe I can use this opportunity to get 2 innate treasures in one fell swoop. Ning Feiyu thought that Su Ren wanted to watch the battle between 2 powerful men to understand the way of cultivation. So I agreed without thinking. Since Brother Su wants to go, then I will go and have a look too. The 2 of them had the same opinion, and Zhang Ling would not disagree. If anyone hated the Wushuan alliance the most now, she would definitely be the first. She wanted to see the god of war avenge everyone in the god of war with her own eyes. In the afternoon, news spread like wildfire that the god of war was going to have a decisive battle with the leader of the Wushuan alliance. And even the location of the decisive battle was clearly stated. Some people suspect that this is the news released by the Wushuan alliance's own people. One is to force the god of war to accept the challenge, and the other is to announce the return of the Wushuan alliance to the heavenly domain. But after the news was released, one thing made everyone extremely confused. There was no movement from the Wandao Immortal Palace, which was originally an ally of the god of war. There are even rumors that the master of Wandao Immortal Palace will not interfere in this matter. This puzzled everyone. Logically speaking, as the enemy of the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace, the Wushuan alliance should not immediately eradicate it as soon as it appears. Why let it go now? Some people speculate that it may be related to the recent increase in the number of sky caves. Maybe Wandao Immortal Palace himself is wondering if his method is wrong. Maybe what the Wushuan alliance did back then was the right one. Therefore, in order to survive this great catastrophe of heaven and earth, Wandao Immortal Palace has already compromised. The price of the compromise is to let the god of war and the leader of the Wushuan alliance resolve their grievances. This statement once made everyone feel that it was true. After all, apart from this reason, Wandao Immortal Palace had no reason to ignore the Wushuan alliance's troubles in the Tianyu. On Wuliang Mountain. The mountain master of Tongtian Sword Mountain said angrily, "Palace master, why don't you let me wait to take action? Are you just going to watch the god of war go into danger alone?" The other mountain owners were also puzzled. The outside world thought that their 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace had secretly compromised with the Wushuan alliance. But they knew they were not compromising that statement at all. Otherwise, the master of Tongtian Sword Mountain would not have captured the master of the 10,000 Soul Sect and returned. The mountain master of Wuliang Mountain shook his head and reassured the other mountain masters. That's exactly what the palace master said. This is a disaster for the 2 of them, and the palace master will not interfere. As for what the palace master is thinking, I don't know. Everyone, please stay on the mountain for the next 2 days and don't go out. Everyone was still a little dissatisfied after hearing this. Back then, they killed many people from the Wushuan alliance. If they really left the Wushuan alliance alone, when the time comes to liquidate, they will definitely not escape death. But except for Mo Dao, no one can go to Tiandao Peak, so they can only worry. Everyone, please go back first. The palace master must have his own considerations. Now that there are more and more caves, maybe the palace owner is looking for a feasible way to make up for it. This matter may also be part of the palace master's plan. When the mountain masters heard this, they could only sigh and leave. After the mountain masters left, Mo Dao suddenly murmured to himself. I asked Kong Tian to bring the void mirror to watch the battle. Is it also part of the palace master's plan? Thinking of this, Mo Dao felt cold all over. I, the palace master, have never really seen clearly. Donghuang, the coast of the East China Sea. The East China Sea is actually the spiritual sea surrounding the sky. Afterwards spread throughout the heavenly realm that two unparalleled powerful men were going to fight on the shores of the East China Sea 3 days later. The big city on the edge of the East China Sea was already crowded with people. This legendary battle between strong men attracted countless monks who were not afraid of death to come and watch the battle. Although they knew it would be dangerous to watch the game, they came anyway. If you miss this opportunity, it may last a lifetime. As long as they can learn something from the battle between the two unparalleled powerhouses, it will be enough for them to benefit from for a lifetime. Donglan City. In ancient times, there was a saying about facing Jiaxi in the east to view the sea. Donglan City also got its name from this. When Suren and the others arrived at Donglan City, the place was already crowded with monks. On the streets, tea houses, restaurants, taverns, and roadside storytellers are all discussing this battle. There are even casinos that open betting on the outcome. Because the inn's rooms were full, Ningfeiyu and Suren spent a lot of money to buy 2 rooms where an inn owner slept for 3 days. The innkeeper himself took his wife and children to sleep in the stable. He had no choice but to give him too much money. Suren had a room by himself, while Ningfeiyu took the initiative to share a room with Zhongling. Zhongling pushed it off for a while and then agreed. When Suren returned to his room, Jingling couldn't help but ask. Suren, do you want to snatch the destiny spear and karma sword while they are fighting? Suren shook his head when he heard this. You guessed wrong, I will wait until they finish fighting before taking action. Oh, you want to see them fight too? Well, let's learn about it in advance. It will come in handy later. Just as Jingling was about to say something, he was suddenly startled and said. Suren, I feel the message from that half of my body. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 494. Where? Let's grab it back on the way to Donglan City. Jingling said a little excitedly. Wait a minute, isn't that half of your body in the 10,000 Dao Immortal Palace? Why did you come to Donglan City suddenly? Someone must have brought it here. No matter what the reason is, you come with me. The mirror spirit revealed its true form, flew out of the small world, and opened up a space channel in front of Suren. Since someone came to the door, Suren naturally would not refuse, but he just thought it was a bit too coincidental. Suren, don't think so much, let's go, Jingling urged. Suren nodded and stepped into the space passage. On the outskirts of the city in the east, Emperor Kongtian looked at the looming Donglan City in the distance and sped up some speed. The Sky Emperor suddenly stopped in alarm. The space in front of him fluctuated violently, and then a space passage appeared in front of him. A figure slowly walked out from inside. Suren, half of my body is in his hands. Jingling said excitedly. As long as she gets this half of the mirror and goes back to ask Ningfeiyu to hand over the quarter of the mirror, she will be perfect. Emperor Kongtian looked at Suren, who suddenly appeared in front of him, with a flash of anger in his eyes. But he quickly covered it up again. He came here on a mission. Master Mo Shan asked him not to expose his identity by fighting with others. In addition, he was actually not sure that he could kill Suren now. Therefore, he suppressed his anger and said calmly. This little friend is blocking my way for some reason. Because Emperor Kongtian had changed his body, and Suren always thought that Emperor Kongtian was dead, he did not recognize him. Before Suren could speak, Jingling spoke first. Needless to say, robbery. Emperor Kongtian's face darkened when he heard this. What the hell dared to rob him? Huh. Emperor Kongtian was suddenly startled. After carefully looking at the body of the mirror spirit, A touch of excitement appeared in his eyes. This thing turned out to be a fragment of the void mirror, and it also produced spiritual intelligence. I didn't want to be exposed, but if I get this fragment, Lord Motion will definitely not blame me. I told you why this kid came out of the Earth Emperor's book last time. It turned out that he had the help of an innate treasure. This time, I also have an innate treasure. I want to see if you still have a chance to beat me. Thinking of this, Emperor Kongtian became cruel and took the lead to kill Suren. Suren originally wanted to ask him to hand over the void mirror without killing him, but he didn't expect that the other party would take action first. Seeing this, Suren stretched out his hand and shook it. The Sky Emperor who rushed over suddenly froze and stopped there blankly. You. The Sky Emperor looked in disbelief at this time. His body in the middle of the upper ninth realm was actually restrained by the opponent and unable to move. This is impossible. What are you howling for? Hand over my body quickly. The mirror spirit flew in front of him, its body emitted a ray of light, and a ray of light also lit up in the body of Emperor Kongtian. When two rays of light met, there was only a ding sound. The void mirror has been successfully restored, and now only a quarter of the gap remains. Emperor Kongtian watched helplessly as half of his void mirror was taken away. Konju was filled with anger, but he could do nothing. You've got it, you've got it? Jingling looked at his body with satisfaction. She never expected that the hardest piece to get would be so easy to get. When Jingling took back his body, Suren looked at Emperor Kongtian from the side. Do we know each other? Why do I feel that your breath is familiar? When Emperor Kongtian heard this, his heart beat much faster. No. I don't know him. He has now determined that he is no match for Suren. If Suren recognizes him again, he will definitely die today. Yeah. Jingling, stop being such a slut and come quickly to see if you recognize him. Jingling glanced at it and said casually. Whatever, I can kill him. Suren. Although Suren was not a good person, others did not provoke him, and he even robbed him of his things, so he still couldn't kill Suren like this. May I have your name? Although he used words and magic to control the powerful monks and consumed his mental energy, Suren always felt that he had met the person in front of him somewhere before. It doesn't matter if he has met him before, but if he obviously pretends that he doesn't recognize him, then there is something wrong with him. To be on the safe side, Suren decided to find out his identity. Under the influence of his words, Emperor Kongtian said dully. My name is Yuan Kongtian. As soon as these words came out, Suren was also surprised. Are you the Sky Emperor? Yes. Suren retracted his words and followed suit. No wonder he felt inexplicably familiar no matter how he looked at this person. He turned out to be the Sky Emperor. I didn't expect you weren't dead. Suren looked at him and smiled. What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean. The Emperor Kongtian who recovered did not know what had just happened, and was still pretending not to recognize Suren. He even threatened Suren. Hurry up and let me go. I am from Wandeo Immortal Palace. Do you know that you have offended Wandeo Immortal Palace? Stop pretending, Sky Emperor. I asked you to run away last time, but I didn't expect you to take the initiative to come to my door this time. Hearing Suren directly mention his name, Emperor Kongtian suddenly panicked. How did you know it was me? It's just a little trick. Suren, you and I are irreconcilable. Ah. The Sky Emperor roared angrily. He knew he couldn't run away and wanted to mobilize all his strength to fight Suren to the death. But no matter how he operated his spiritual power, the spiritual power in his body that was supposed to be a vast ocean did not respond at all. Why? I'm not willing to give in. Suren shook his head, took out his knife and slashed out to end his life. The body of the Sky Emperor fell into the forest, startling a flock of birds. Emperor Kongtian has the means to resurrect, and those few people must have the same means. I wonder if the river god's skills can control the leader of the Peerless Alliance. At this time, Jingling interrupted Suran's thinking and said excitedly. Suran, let's go back to the inn quickly and let Ningfeiyu hand over the last piece of my body. If he doesn't agree, we'll just rob him. Mirror spirit. Ah. What's wrong? Should you calm down? What you're doing now is a little crazy. No, I just want to get my own body back as soon as possible. Stop talking, let's go back quickly. Jingling urged again. Suran shook his head. I said Ningfeiyu is my friend, and I will tell him that I need the void mirror fragments in his hands, not by robbing them. Do you understand? But. No buts. Seeing that Suran seemed angry, Jingling couldn't help but compromise. Okay, I understand, can we convince him to hand it over? I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 495. Back at the inn, Suran did not go to Ningfeiyu immediately. He was thinking about how to tell Ningfeiyu. Since we are friends, we cannot use strong methods. Jingling originally wanted to speak, but Suran pinned her down in the small world and prevented her from coming out. The void mirror no longer requires Suran to devote too much energy to paying attention. What he wants to think about now is how to get the 2 innate treasures from the leader of the Wushuan Alliance. I learned from Zhongling that the god of war had transcended the upper 9 realms and reached the legendary god realm. I just don't know if this divine realm and his conceptual god are both at the level of gods. If they are of the same level, it may be difficult for Suran to obtain 2 innate treasures. This is actually the reason why Suran chose to watch the battle before taking action. At least we have to figure out how far the battle between them can go. I will take action depending on the situation at that time. 2 days passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye it was the day of the battle between the god of war and the leader of the Wushuan Alliance. The coast of the East China Sea is already crowded with people. The coastline is crowded with people, and the sky is full of human figures. Where's the man? When will he come? I don't know. Will we not fight here? It's impossible. This is a message sent by the Wushuan Alliance themselves. They wouldn't slap themselves in the face like this. I don't know who can win. In fact, I hope that the martial god can win. The people of the Wushuan Alliance are too dirty. They killed so many people just to force the martial god to fight. Oh, poor people in those cities. I heard that not a single person was left alive. The Wushuan Alliance was too cruel. Please keep your voice down. If the people of the Wushuan Alliance hear it, I'm sure they won't have a better life than you. Now Wandao Immortal Palace doesn't know what it is doing. It usually charges such high taxes. Now that the Wushuan Alliance has declared war on the martial god, they don't even dare to fart. 1. Just as everyone was discussing, a figure came from the sky. Although it seemed very slow, it already appeared in front of everyone in one step. Everyone in the air quickly stepped aside and opened a passage to come out. It's the god of war. It is said that the god of martial arts entered the Tao through martial arts and did not cultivate external objects, but only cultivated the physical body. In terms of physical body alone, those powerful monsters are no match for him. But no matter how strong the body is, can it resist the innate treasure? No one knows the answer to this question. However, they can see it today. Xiang Yingtian, don't you want to fight? Why are you so cowardly? The god of war roared angrily, and the terrifying sound spread across the shores of the East China Sea, suppressing the sound of the waves in the spiritual sea. At this moment, there was only this roar left between heaven and earth. Countless people covered their ears with their hands and looked in agony. Those with lower realms were so shocked that they vomited blood and fainted. They didn't see it while watching the battle, but they were almost killed by the roar of the god of war. The power of the divine realm is evident. It's so scary. Is this the realm of gods? This is just a directionless roar from the god of war. If it were aimed at a certain person, I can't imagine how miserable that person would die. Everyone looked at the figure above the spiritual sea in shock, with shock in their eyes. Brother Su, do you think you can fight against the god of war? Ning Feiyu suddenly asked. The three of them came early in the morning and grabbed an excellent viewing position, on a cliff by the sea. Ning Feiyu's sudden words made Zhang Ling on the side look puzzled. She knew that her friend Ning Feiyu was very strong, but if she had to fight against Lord Martial God, there were only 3 people in the Tianyu who were qualified to do so. These 3 people are all famous. How could Suren be the opponent of Lord Martial God? The people around him laughed out loud when they heard this. Where did these 2 little brats come from? They could just brag at home, so why do they do it here? Haha, don't look at my age. I guess I have little experience. Newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Everyone around him shook his head. Suren ignored the sounds around him, just looked at the figure of the god of war and said seriously. I haven't fought before, so I don't know. Ning Feiyu couldn't help frowning when he heard this. Brother Su, you are the one who wants to fight Luo Yuxian. If you can fight with the god of war, you can definitely fight with Luo Yuxian. Zhang Ling had turned her head to the side at this time, acting as if I didn't know these 2 people and I wasn't familiar with them. It's not enough to fight against Lord Martial God, but he also has to fight against the Lord of Wukingju Palace. So crazy. The people around him burst into laughter when they heard this. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that. I didn't see the battle between the 2 peerless experts. Instead, I watched it for fun first. It was really interesting. 2 little brothers, I know a very famous miracle doctor. He is very researched in treating the brain. I can recommend you to go see him. Treat it as soon as possible. There is still a chance. Otherwise, it will be too late if you delay it any longer. Everyone laughed again when they heard this. Naturally, everyone didn't take their words to heart and just regarded them as 2 children talking nonsense. The conversation between the 2 was just a brief interlude. After the martial god roared, the leader of the Wushuan alliance was still missing. When the god of war was about to shout again, everyone noticed that the world had changed, and an unparalleled pressure swept over them. The target is the god of war above the Linghai Sea. Snort. The god of war snorted coldly and immediately broke away the pressure. In the sky in front of the martial god, the space suddenly shattered, and then the leader of the Wushuan alliance stepped out of it. Long time no see, my old friend. Xiang Yingtian said these 3 words old friend very seriously. There was no joy in seeing his old friend on his face, but indifference. I still remember clearly the slap you gave me back then. I really didn't expect that my most trusted friend, the friend I regarded as my confidant, would betray me at that moment. The god of war heard this and said expressionlessly. Xiang Yingtian, you are going against the will of heaven and earth. I have warned you countless times. If you don't listen, you can't blame me. So, is this why you betrayed me? Xiang Yingtian suddenly roared. The past is past, I don't want to argue with you anymore. You killed so many people in my martial arts temple, as well as hundreds of millions of innocent people in the 4 cities. Today, I am here to make you pay with blood. Ha 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 ha. Xiang Yingtian laughed loudly. You must be regretting that you didn't hit me to death with 1 slap, right? If you had hit me to death with 1 palm, they would not have died. It was you who killed them. It's a pity that you didn't see their desperate look before they died. Xiang Yingtian. The god of war burst out with terrifying momentum, and the world was shaken at this moment. Today, you and I will come to an end. Boom. The god of war punched the leader of the Wushuan alliance. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 496. As soon as this punch was struck, the color of the world changed and the wind and thunder stirred. It seemed that neither heaven nor earth could withstand this terrifying punch and let out bursts of wailing. Faced with such a powerful punch, everyone watching the battle from a distance had their eyes widened, staring at the two people fighting above the Ling-Hai Sea. So strong. With this punch, I'm afraid that if it touches the edge, it will be wiped out. Suren looked at the martial god's punch and muttered to himself. Is this the only level? It's not enough. Brother Su, what's not enough? Ningfeiyu asked with a puzzled look on his face. Suren didn't answer his question. Almost the moment the martial god punched, the leader of the Wushuan alliance had already launched the Karma sword. When it comes to the physical body, he knows he is invincible. So he used the innate treasure without any hesitation. As soon as the sword of cause and effect comes out, the power of cause and effect bursts out between heaven and earth. God of War, you slapped me back then, so you can't avoid this sword. This is the cause and effect between you and me. Boom. A punch and a sword collided together, and the space shattered like glass, leaving black cracks, and then recovered and shattered again. Endless light erupted in the air where the two people were, and the crowd watching the battle did not dare to look directly at it. They closed their eyes and used spiritual energy shields to resist. The aftermath of the explosion rushed straight into the spiritual sea, causing huge waves to hit everyone on the shore in an instant. As soon as everyone opened their eyes, they saw huge waves hundreds of meters high hitting them. Fuck. Everyone was shocked. If this person was hit by a huge wave and swept into the spiritual sea, those with low cultivation would probably die in it. However, when the huge waves were about to hit the shore, they stopped strangely. Then he slowly lay on the ground like a well-behaved puppy. The scene that was originally filled with huge waves suddenly became calm. Everyone was stunned when they saw this, not knowing what happened. It should be someone watching the battle who is capable of taking action. I just don't know which powerful senior it is. Thank you, senior, for taking the initiative. Someone raised their hands and thanked them loudly. Suren retracted his hand and said nothing. Ningfeiyu stood next to Suren. He saw it clearly and couldn't help but be surprised. Brother Su, do you still have this ability? Controlling the turbulent waves is much harder than shaking the sea with a punch. This requires extremely strong control. Suren didn't explain, just looked at the two people in the air. After one move, the two seemed to be even. The leader of the Wushuan alliance looked indifferent and showed no physical changes. The god of war looked calm and did not see any changes. Who has the upper hand? Someone asked. Can't you tell? It feels like the two of them are evenly matched. They ended up with a draw in the first round. Wrong. At this time, a person stood up and objected. The god of war physically resisted the innate treasure. It is obvious that the god of war has the upper hand. As a fan of the god of war, he originally wanted to talk about the power of the god of war at length. As a result, the crowd burst into exclamations. Look, the god of war's fist. Although they were far apart, everyone was a capable monk, and they could still barely see the details of their bodies. Everyone looked at the sound and saw a half-finger-long wound on the fist struck by the god of war. Drops of golden blood dripped down from the wound. Boom. The moment the golden blood touched the spiritual sea, it caused the entire spiritual sea to boil again. The energy contained in this blood is too huge. Countless people watching the battle wanted to run down immediately to catch the golden blood. This thing contains much more energy than any spiritual stone. Unfortunately, the two people above were still standing there, and they did not dare to go over. Suren glanced at the Ling Hai, stretched out his hand, and a few drops of blood condensed into a golden blood bead, which he transported through the Ling Hai. When the golden blood drop appeared in front of Suren, the crowd suddenly caused a sensation. They didn't know what method Suren used to get the blood. But they know that if they can get this blood and refine it, their martial arts cultivation will be improved to a higher level. Maybe you can also understand the true meaning of the martial god's cultivation. Ningfeiyu didn't refuse when he saw this. After accepting it, he smiled happily and said. Everyone looked at this scene, especially those who supported the god of war. Their expressions changed. A spear appeared in the left hand of the leader of the Wushuan alliance. But with so many people watching now, it was impossible for them to rob in front of everyone. Above the spiritual sea, everyone looked at the golden blood droplets floating in front of Suren with eager eyes. This little brother, what you said just now is so offending. Do you want to sell the blood of the god of war? Brother Su, what do you need? As long as I have it, I can give it to you, including my body. Get out. Don't disgust me. Congratulations to Brother Su, I never thought you could get a chance while we watched the battle. The god of war is in danger. Without some strength, others would definitely not be able to leave Donglan City. The blood of a strong man in the divine realm, and both of them were cultivating the physical body. This was definitely a heaven-defying tonic for him. I don't need it, this is for you. But, have you forgotten that I have something else? The destiny spear in the left hand, the karma sword in the right hand, plus the unparalleled laws created by the leader of the unparalleled alliance. If you can block the sword of cause and effect, I wonder if you can block the spear of destiny. The god of war just glanced at the wound on his fist. He didn't care about this small injury. He just released his divine power at will, and the wound healed. The physical body is invincible and invulnerable to all attacks. It is really powerful. Two innate treasures appeared together, and now they are controlled by one person. Ningfeiyu said with heartfelt blessings. Suren pushed the blood bead in front of Ningfeiyu, but Ningfeiyu didn't react for a while. Xiang Yingtian, if you only have this strength, you can't beat me today. Anyway, when the two of them appeared like this, people immediately noticed them. Ningfeiyu was indeed moved, but he also knew how valuable this thing was. Just now they were mocking Suren for talking nonsense. This, Brother Su, I have this great gift. Suren gave him a disgusted look. I'm not giving you anything for free, just keep it. The leader of the Wushuan alliance suddenly smiled and said. Ignoring the sounds around him, Suren grabbed the blood beads without even looking at them. Take it, the martial god cultivates the physical body and becomes a god. You are also taking the same path. His blood will be of great use to you. Now they wanted to kneel down to the two of them in order to get a drop of the martial god's blood. Everyone behind saw the blood bead being accepted by Ningfeiyu, and couldn't help but get very angry. You can set whatever price you want. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 497. Familiar. This is the destiny gun you abandoned. Now, I will let its light shine on the earth again. Let the world see how powerful it is. The leader of the Wushuan alliance holds two innate treasures, and his words are full of arrogance. The god of war only frowned slightly when he saw this. Although the innate treasure is powerful, he still believes in himself more. Foreign objects are always just foreign objects to him. The aura of the martial god surged again, and as the aura rose, his body also grew taller. In just an instant, the god of war has become a giant hundreds of meters tall. Golden light enveloped the huge body of the martial god. At this moment, the martial god was a god who had cultivated an immortal golden body. The true form of the god of war. This is Lord Martial God's unique skill. Zhang looked excitedly at the figure stepping on the sky above Ling Hai. Ning Feiyu looked at that figure with greedy eyes and murmured, "I will become as big as him in the future." At this time, one of the people watching the battle shouted loudly, "Both sides are going to take action. If they don't reach the upper seventh realm, they must retreat to Donglan City, otherwise they will be in danger of death. Donglan City has a defensive formation that can save your lives." As soon as these words came out, the crowd suddenly became commotion. Most people who are self-aware quickly fly to Donglan City. The rest of the people wanted to continue watching with a bit of luck. In less than a moment, 2/3 of the crowd had left. At this time, the leader of the Wushuan alliance had already launched an attack. Do you really think your body can stop it? Ridiculous. A spear and a sword were thrust out at the same time, and the god of war formed seals with his hands to block the blow. Huh? What are you waiting for if you don't fight back? The leader of the Wushuan alliance attacked again. Martial God was still just defending this time and did not confront him head-on. The leader of the Wushuan alliance turned his head and glanced at the fleeing crowd, and said angrily, "So you were waiting for them to return to a safe location. Your fake mercy makes me sick." This time, the leader of the Peerless Alliance suddenly had the power of law around him, and a domineering unparalleled power appeared around him, and even the light in the air was forcibly squeezed out. Wherever the leader of the Wushuan alliance goes, there is only endless void and darkness. The law of Wushuan cannot tolerate anything around it. In the field where the law of Wushuan unfolds, nothing can get close to it. This is the overbearing power of the unparalleled law. The leader of the Wushuan alliance used the two innate treasures wrapped in the Wushuan law to stab out again. When the god of war saw that the crowd watching the battle had almost returned to Donglan City, he used the law of physical divine power to punch out. The golden fist collided with the black power of law. Boom! There was another loud noise, and the power of the two laws collided, annihilating everything around them. The space above the Linghai Sea was directly shattered into void, and could no longer be reorganized in a short period of time. The spiritual sea below the two people was directly evaporated by this terrifying power. The aftermath of the battle rushed to the people still on the coast. Immediately, countless people who were lower than the upper seven realms and refused to listen were instantly blown into ashes. Even those who were higher than the upper seven realms were blown backwards for an unknown distance after resisting for a while. Only the leader of one party, the Holy Master, and other powerful men of the older generation could barely stand on the coast. Ning Feiyu stood in front of Suren and Zhongling, using all his strength to block the shock wave. This made the person who had just thought about robbing him frown. They seemed to have misunderstood, and these two people were not as simple as they thought. After the impact, everyone flew back again, asking excitedly, "Who's winning?" There was a void above the Linghai Sea, the light was completely swallowed up, and no one knew what the outcome would be until the space was restored. Everyone stared at the void. After a while, the space finally began to reorganize again. Everyone was the first to see the leader of the Wushuan alliance holding two innate treasures. At this time, the Wushuan law around him had been beaten to collapse, so his true body was revealed in the darkness. Ahem! The leader of the Wushuan alliance coughed lightly, and a stream of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. But he didn't care, because the god of war was much worse than him. The two innate treasures joined forces to attack. Even if they were as strong as the body of the god of war, they couldn't stop it. After the space was completely reorganized and repaired, I finally saw the god of war who had shrunk back to his normal height. The hands of the god of war have been obliterated. His chest was stabbed with a wound from the front and back by the destiny spear. The blood of the martial god has long been dripping onto the dry seabed like free money. The divinity in it seems to have been erased a lot, and the color has changed from golden to light yellow. Suren did not take action to recover the blood this time. First, because he lacked divinity, collecting it was of no use. above the spiritual sea. Don't worry, I will take action later. Do you know what Tiandaizai told me when I left Tiandao Peak? I may have lost, but you didn't win either. He said, I am a chess piece and you are a chess piece. No matter who wins or loses, it doesn't make any difference. But Suren was different. He didn't know about other skills, but he could definitely ignore their rules by drawing his sword and slashing. Let's talk about less updates. Not long ago, I said that my income has been cut in half, so I want to update to the million words as soon as possible. Last month, I updated 5 times a day. You can probably see that my rhythm has changed. It's a lot faster. Everything the protagonist wants is collected immediately, and the ending is the ending according to my prediction. Even if I update it twice a day, I can finish it before the 15th of this month, so I can't add more updates. I have to come up with ideas. The ending should be at least not too hasty. Fiu, what should I do? So, even though I know you are holding 2 innate treasures, I'm still here. Ning Fiu didn't want to make Zhongling sad, so he could only ask Suren to take action. At this time, on the coastal cliff, Suren had already taken out his knife and took a step forward. Even if he doesn't save the god of war, Suren will still take action to snatch the 2 innate treasures. The god of war shook his head and said calmly. After Ning Fiu finished speaking, he looked at Suren. He was also afraid that something would happen to Suren, so he just asked Suren first. God of war, you lose. Lord Martial God. Hearing the name Tiandaizai, the leader of the Wushuan alliance became solemn. The name of the master of Wandao Immortal Palace was familiar to him. Perhaps, the answer will be revealed soon. Brother Su, if you are sure, can you? Suren nodded. He said he would not interfere in the battle between you and me. Does he want to go back on his word? They have their own power of law, which is their own rules. If it were other people, it would be absolutely impossible to hurt them. I came to you for revenge, but also to verify my physical martial arts, and even more to see if what Tiandaizai said is correct. The second is that on the path of martial arts, one can understand other people's practice methods, but one cannot repeat other people's practice paths. The leader of the Wushuan alliance laughed loudly, as if venting the resentment in his heart. Zhongling looked at the scene anxiously. The few drops of blood given to Ning Fiu were enough, but more would not be a good thing. The god of war showed no expression, just looked at him quietly and said, when drawing a sword to cut, you only have your own rules, that is, as long as you cut out, you will be killed. After laughing enough, he said coldly, don't worry, this kind of injury won't kill the martial god. But after all, the other party holds 2 innate treasures, and they are truly in the divine realm. The battle between the two ended here, and Suren had roughly figured out the strength of the divine realm. Ning Fiu comforted. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with 1 knife. Author, how like the human world. Chapter 498. On the other side of the Linghai coast. Zhao Yushu, the deputy leader of the Wushuan alliance, is here to watch the battle with the people of the Wushuan alliance. It seems that the alliance leader is sure of victory this time. Of course, with 2 great innate treasures in hand, the god of war wants to win? It's simply impossible. While everyone was discussing, one person suddenly pointed to Suren on the cliff in the distance and said, Deputy leader, that person, seems to be Suren. Zhao Yushu immediately looked over after hearing this. Huh? It's really him. Okay, you can't find anything even if you wear iron shoes, it takes no effort to get here. I've been looking for him for so long, but I didn't expect to meet him here. Follow me, I want to catch him alive. Zhao Yushu has always felt guilty about the death of his father-in-law. If he hadn't asked his father-in-law to go to the Hesan Star territory, his father-in-law would not have met Suren again and been killed. He knew that Suren had come to Tianyu. But the world is so vast that trying to find someone is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Now that he could see Suren here, Zhao Yushu was overjoyed. Naturally, he would not let go of this opportunity for revenge. Suren. Zhao Yushu came in the air with the people from the Wushuan alliance, and the other people watching the battle around Suren immediately stayed away when they saw this. The Wushuan alliance is now so powerful that they don't dare to provoke them. And judging from the looks of these people from the Wushuan alliance, it was obvious that they were looking for trouble. Who are you? Suren looked up and down at the person in front of him strangely. I am Zhao Yushu, the deputy leader of the Wushuan alliance. Oh, I don't know. Zhao Yushu became angrier when he saw Suren's nonchalant look and said. You don't know me, but I know you. Today I will pay with your blood for killing your father-in-law. When the people around heard Zhao Yushu's words, they all looked at Suren in surprise. This guy is so brave, he even killed the father-in-law of the deputy leader of the Wushuan alliance. Haha, what is this? Didn't you hear that he wanted to fight against the leader of the Wushuan alliance just now? Everyone was shocked again when they heard this. I don't know what his strength is, but his courage is indeed great. After Suren heard Zhao Yushu's words, he was speechless and said. Wait a minute, who is your father-in-law? Du Guxian. Do you understand now? Suren suddenly realized what he said. It turns out it was him. I was the one who killed Du Guxian. Suren nodded and did not deny it. Very good, just admit it, and avoid others saying that our Wushuan alliance kills innocent people indiscriminately. The reason why Zhao Yushu didn't take action as soon as he came up was to let the onlookers know that they had a reputation and were not killing people randomly. Come on, I want to catch him alive, and I have something to ask him. What happened last time has always been the words of the only living elder after he returned. He always felt that things were not that simple. This time, Suren must be captured and tortured. Zhao Yushu waved his hand, and everyone behind him rushed forward. Brother Su, do you need my help? Ning Feiyu asked casually. He knew Suren's strength, so he was not worried that anything would happen to Suren. Unnecessary. Suren didn't want to waste time with them. When they decided to take action, Suren had already drawn his sword. As the sword light flashed, more than 10 people from the Wushuan alliance who rushed up fell to the ground one by one with frightened eyes. Why bother if you have to come here to seek death? Suren didn't even look at them. After saying this, his figure disappeared from the spot. Zhao Yushu lowered his head and looked at his chest, where the clothes were stained red with blood. Thump. With endless confusion, Zhao Yushu fell to the ground. He never understood why a person like him, who was at the peak of the 9th realm, could die so easily. It was so simple that he didn't even realize what happened. Seeing that the people of the Wushuan alliance who were so arrogant just now were turned into corpses in an instant. Everyone around him felt a chill on his back. Fa, what happened? One person asked in a trembling voice. He didn't even see what was going on, and everyone in the Wushuan alliance was dead. These are all at the elite level of the Wushuan alliance, at least the 9th level. He died just like that, without causing any splash. That young man named Suren, when the people from the Wushuan alliance were taking action, I saw him pull out the knife in his hand, and then these people. The speaker swallowed his saliva when he said this, obviously a little scared. Suren didn't like this feeling very much. It made him feel as if he was trapped in someone else's plan again. Above the spiritual sea, looking at Suren who suddenly appeared in front of him, the god of war frowned slightly. It's actually him. If these two people hold grudges, none of them will be able to escape. After all, it was a genuine divine realm. What outcome will it affect? Look. Oh my god. Does he really want to challenge the leader of the Wushuan alliance? When the leader of the Wushuan alliance saw Suren, he was surprised at first, and then laughed. Not long ago, he had laughed at the two young men in front of him for not overestimating their abilities. The god of war couldn't figure it out. Unexpectedly, I was slapped in the face immediately. Ning Feiyu saw this and took the opportunity to taunt him back. One person exclaimed and pointed to the sky above Ling Hai. Although Ning Feiyu seemed very arrogant on the surface, he was only bragging in a big way. Everyone thought of the chat between the two teenagers not long ago, and their expressions changed again. TCH, looking at your ignorant looks, you are just the leader of the unparalleled alliance. And of the 4 innate treasures he needed, he could immediately collect 3 of them. There are all ants in the divine realm. Even if the leader of the Wushuan alliance is injured now, he is still far from being comparable to those of the Wushuan alliance just now. God of War, is this the person you mentioned who influenced the outcome? 3 days ago, the God of War met Suren when he was at the God of War. Look out, Brother Su can take down the leader of the Wushuan alliance in no more than 100 moves. Thinking of this, Suren suddenly frowned. This kind of strength can definitely challenge the leader of the Wushuan alliance. I want to see why he is. Everyone heard the sound and looked around, only to see that the figure of the young man who had just disappeared had appeared in front of the God of War and the leader of the Wushuan alliance. First of all, the enemy, Emperor Kongtian, came over with half the fragments of the void mirror for no reason and gave him his head plus the fragments of the void mirror. Now the battle between the two has brought 2 great innate treasures together here. Everyone didn't say anything after hearing this, and could only suffer in silence. If they had dared to talk back just now, they would have laughed a few words, but now it's different. This time it was Suren who asked doubtfully. The two of them didn't seem to be too surprised by their appearance here, but there was a sense of taking it for granted in their words. It seems that as long as he steals the 2 innate treasures, everything will follow a certain trajectory. What ability does this young man have that can make Tiande's I think that he is the answer to this matter? This duel between the two seems to be a battle between 2 people, but no matter how you look at it, it is Suren who is the beneficiary. But there was still some worry in my heart. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 499. The two of them did not answer Suren's words. The leader of the Wushuan alliance looked at Suren carefully and said coldly. Boy, you dare to kill my people in front of me, you are very brave. Suren killed Zhao Yushu and others, and he saw clearly. Even if Suren can't come over, he will still trouble Suren if he kills the God of War. Suren was a little disappointed when he saw that the two of them kept silent about what happened just now. It seems that you are not going to answer my question, but it doesn't matter. I want to see what he is planning. Suren looked at the leader of the Wushuan alliance and said in an extremely calm tone. I'm here to get the sword of cause and effect and the spear of destiny. Killing you should be part of his plan. But I won't kill you. Hand them over and I'll spare your life. Hearing Suren's arrogant words, the leader of the Wushuan alliance smiled. He was a powerful man in the divine realm, but he was despised by a little kid. This laugh was a laugh mocking Suren's ignorance. Even the God of War couldn't help but glance at Suren when he heard this. He didn't understand where Suren got his confidence. Even if Suren is in the same divine realm as them, how can it be so easy to defeat Xiang Yingtian with 2 innate treasures in his hands? Boy, I have to admit, you are the most courageous person I have ever seen. But, it's no use just having courage. You all die together. The leader of the Wushuan alliance roared, the Wushuan law surrounded him, and the 2 innate treasures came out. He wanted to kill the God of War and Suren at once. Be careful. The martial god warned, prepare to fight with all your strength. Seeing this, Suren shook his head. He didn't even draw the sword, but just opened his hand and shook it gently. My skills are far more powerful than I think. Suren originally thought that the other party was in the divine realm, and he was still worried about whether his skills would have an effect on the other party. But this time, watching the battle between the two, and Suren's secret attempts, he discovered that even in the divine realm, as long as there was water in their bodies, they could not escape the control of the river god's skills. Buzz. A mysterious force acted on the leader of the Wushuan alliance, causing his charging figure to stop in place. The god of war was the first to notice something was wrong. What happened? The god of war glanced at the leader of the Wushuan alliance in confusion, then turned to look at Suren, who stretched out his hand. You. The leader of the Wushuan alliance was the most shocked and frightened person at this time. He couldn't move. Why is this happening? Who are you? Suren did not answer his question, but stepped forward in the air, came to him and took the two innate treasures in his hands. I didn't expect it to be so easy to get. Suren didn't feel the slightest surprise and took the Karma sword and Destiny spear into the small world. The two girls in the small world were stunned at this moment. They knew that Suren was very strong. After all, they dared to cause trouble for their main body, Luoyuxian, so how could they not have some strength? But this is too strong. The leader of the unparalleled alliance in the divine realm didn't even have the power to fight back. The two sides don't seem to exist in the same dimension at all. The two women looked at each other and seemed to think of something at the same time. Suren can control the leader of the Wushuan alliance so easily, which means that he can use the same method to deal with Luoyuxian. On the coast of Linghai, everyone watching the battle was dumbfounded. The scene was eerily quiet. Ningfeiyu opened his mouth wide enough to hold a fist, and his eyes were full of shock. He was worried just now whether Suren was the opponent of the leader of the Wushuan alliance. It turned out to be just a trick. Feiyu, where did you meet this friend of yours? What kind of strength does he have? Isn't this too outrageous? Zhongling's eyes were wide open next to Ningfeiyu, and her beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. Ningfeiyu shook his head gently. I don't know what Brother Su's strength is. I've never seen him take action seriously. This little brother, we were rude just now. Please forgive me, little brother. One person walked up to Ningfeiyu and apologized in a low voice. He laughed the loudest just now because he was afraid of being retaliated against later. When others saw this, they quickly came over to apologize. Everyone who had laughed at the two of them came over, and everyone was extremely respectful. When Ningfeiyu saw this, he rolled his eyes and pretended to sigh. Sigh, I'm a very talkative person, but this friend of mine is famous for liking to settle accounts. Ah! Everyone turned pale when they heard this and quickly begged for mercy. Little brother, we know we were wrong, give us a chance. Yeah, just spare us. It's not impossible to spare you. Ningfeiyu cleared his throat and said, hand over all the spirit stones you have. My friend is more money conscious. As long as you are sincere enough, he will definitely forgive you. But if someone is hiding something secret and is not sincere enough, it will be difficult to tell. When everyone heard this, anyone who wasn't stupid would know that this kid was taking advantage of the situation. But there was nothing they could do. Who told them to laugh at the two of them just now? Everyone had to scramble to hand over all the spiritual stones they had. Upon seeing this, Ningfeiyu happily collected the spirit stone, with a smile on his face. What are you doing? Suren didn't kill the leader of the Wushuan alliance, he just held him there, and walked back after taking the innate treasure. Seeing that Ningfeiyu had disappeared for a while and put away the spirit stone, Suren looked at him and the people who gave him the spirit stone with some confusion. The person who handed over the spirit stone quickly bowed to Suren and fled from here. Ningfeiyu was caught and said with a smile. Brother Su, everyone thinks you are brave, so we decided to donate some money to buy peace. So, You're collecting protection money. No, no, you misunderstood. This is all of our own free will. The Holy Lord of a Holy Land quickly explained. While explaining, he did not forget to take out all the spirit stones. Okay, let's all disperse. Suren stopped their behavior. Seeing this, everyone hurriedly thanked Suren, and then dispersed in a crowd. Well, don't run. Ningfei still had some unfinished thoughts. Lingxi was treated softly. When had he ever enjoyed such treatment? Suren knew from his appearance that he was taking the opportunity to blackmail, but he didn't bother to tell him anything. Brother Su, won't you kill the leader of the Wushuan alliance? You have offended him completely. Ningfei packed up the spirit stones and asked. If you don't want to kill, I want to see how that person will respond. That person? Brother Su, who are you talking about? You do not know. Ningfei nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Suren suddenly said seriously. By the way, Brother Ning, I want something from you. It's very important to me. What? Ningfei couldn't help but feel a little confused when he saw Suren becoming serious. I want the void mirror fragment in your hand. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, how like the human world. Chapter 500. As soon as these words came out, Ningfei was stunned for a moment. How do you know I have a void mirror fragment in my hand? Boom. Before Suren could explain, a loud noise suddenly came from the sky. Everyone looked up. I saw that the sky was torn open with a crack tens of thousands of miles long, like an eye open but without pupils. The sky is cracked. Someone exclaimed. Buzz buzz. The moment the sky cracked, countless evil beasts flew out from the cracks. The entire sky was filled with evil beasts in an instant. They were like locusts passing by, eating everything they saw and leaving nothing behind. Suren looked up at the sky, frowned and said. It should be the battle between the god of war and the leader of the Wushuan alliance that cracked the already fragile sky. Suren looked at Ningfei. Brother Ning, we don't have much time. Give me the void mirror fragments. I might have a chance to solve the hidden dangers caused by the sky cave. Ningfei was hesitant. His master asked him to find the void mirror fragments. He didn't know what to do now. Disciple, give the things to him. A gentle and kind voice sounded in their ears. Ningfei heard this voice and quickly looked up. I saw a white-haired old man standing under the sky. With just a wave of his hand, all the evil beasts died instantly. Tiandaizai. The leader of the Wushuan alliance, who was still controlled by Suren, looked at the old man with anger in his eyes. He had endured it for thousands of years, but he was finally plotted against. He now understands that not only him, but also the god of war is in Tiandaizai's scheme. Everything is because of that young man named Suren. The sword of cause and effect and the spear of destiny were all meant to pave the way for that young man. These two great innate treasures were originally meant to be given to him. The martial god is not stupid either. He has understood it since Suren snatched two innate treasures. Sure enough, the grudge between him and Xiang Yingtian was just a plan of Tiandaizai. Master. Ningfei looked at Tiandaizai in the sky excitedly. Since his master also agreed, he had nothing to hesitate. Ningfei took out the box containing the fragments of the void mirror, but Suren didn't pick it up. Jingling had already rushed out with her body and took the initiative to accept it. All the fragments of the void mirror merged together, and a burst of dazzling light passed. A simple bronze mirror appeared in Suren's hand. Ha ha ha, I'm finally perfect. Jingling smiled happily, and then suddenly looked at Tiandaizai in the sky. Suren, let's work together to kill this old man. It was he and the time pearl who broke me into pieces back then. Suren shook his head when he heard this. Have you not noticed yet? You are also a part of his plan. He deliberately broke you into pieces so that you could hide in Blue Star and be met by me. When Jingling heard this, he was stunned for a long time before murmuring. How come you were able to collect all my true bodies by such a coincidence along the way? My feelings were plotted by this old man. Otherwise, why do you think you could run away with the cooperation of him and the Time Pearl? But, if you put it this way, you should be very important to him, right? Jingling said in confusion, but what's the use of him sending me to you? I can't help you with anything. You'll be able to help me soon. Void Mirror doesn't need to help Suren at all. She just needs to be here with Suren, because she is also part of the final job transfer. Suren, come with me, I can solve your doubts. Tiandaizai spoke again. You have to believe that we are not enemies. I do all this for me, for you, and even more for the sake of this universe. Suren didn't say much, and he already appeared in front of him. Tiandaizai nodded and actually led Suren to fly towards the crack in the sky. This move directly shocked everyone. People who enter the heavenly cave are always destined to die but not to live. Fellow Taoist Tiandaizai, what are you doing? Although the god of war is angry in his heart, Tiandaizai still needs the help to fight against Tianku. If Tiandaizai died, that was definitely not what he wanted to see. Tiandaizai didn't say anything, he just took Suren and flew into the cave. You are not afraid. When he reached the edge of the cave, Tiandaizai stopped and looked at Suren with a smile and asked. What are you afraid of? You can't possibly take me in and commit suicide, right? Tiandaizai nodded. Then let's go in. Seeing Tiandaizai step into the cave, Suren stepped in without hesitation. Nothingness, darkness, loneliness, and despair were the first feelings Suren felt in the cave. Also, there is the endless death energy. Tiandaizai waved his hand and illuminated the entire void. No one can enter this place except you and me. Why? Haha, let him answer your doubts for you. Suren, we meet again. You are growing up very quickly. The godhead has been cast. An old man holding a fishing rod and wearing a bamboo hat slowly walked over from the void. It turns out that Tiandaizai, the master of Wandao Immortal Palace, is just a clone of this person. You need it, complete your mission, and then I will take you to understand the truth of this universe. Ding. Suren reached out and took the bead. The power of time surged out, and everything around him seemed to slow down or speed up. A colorful crystal appeared in Suren's mind. After doing all this, the system completely integrated with Suren. Tiandaizai looked in one direction, and Suren also looked over. Congratulations, Master, the 8th turn is completed. Upgrade all remaining skills to perfection. In my mind, the voice of the system came. Congratulations, Master, you have become the river god. From now on, all the mountains and rivers will be under your control. Remember, the Milky Way is also a river, and the long river of love and the long river of time are also rivers. Suren looked at Tiandaizai, but Tiandaizai did not explain, but his body slowly dissipated into countless light spots and merged into the fisherman's body. Who are you anyway? Why did you plan all this? Congratulations, Master, you have perfected your sword drawing skills. You can cut off all things with one sword, including family, love, friendship, and other intangible things. Including the past and future, time and space, fate, and cause and effect, etc. It's just that Tiandaizai just said that no one can enter this place except the two of them. It is like an invisible spirit body, slowly merging with Suren under the light of the 4 innate treasures. Suren was naturally impressed by this fisherman. Congratulations, Master, your blocking skills have been perfected and you can block any damage, including the insults from the keyboard warrior. Congratulations, Master, your beast catching skills have been perfected. You can capture any tangible or intangible object. I think you are a beast, And you are a beast. Suren narrowed his eyes slightly. The 4 great innate treasures have been gathered. The 4 great innate treasures appeared beside Suren and kept spinning around him. The system is an invisible thing, but Suren actually feels the existence of the system at this moment. 4 beams of light penetrated Suren's body. The fisherman didn't explain when he heard this, he just sent a beat over through the air. Pearl of time. As soon as Suren said this, all skills were upgraded from proficient to perfect. Perfect words are followed, you are the incarnation of rules. You can create all things and destroy all things with one word. Start turning 8. Without waiting for Suren to upgrade his skills, the words and spells were automatically upgraded to perfection.